So hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So this is our Martlets Talk season 4, episode 6. So we are very honored to have Dr. Yunfang Yang to share her stories on how to transit from like a researcher to like a social media influencer and also an entrepreneur. So before we start our event, I would like to thank everyone who contributes to this talk and make it happen, and especially Dr. Wenbin Kang, who contributes a lot in this events. So today, first I will start to introducing our society and also a little bit on our other events, and then Dr. Kang will introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Yang. And then today, it will be a bit different from like our usual talk. The talk of Dr. Yang will break into 2 parts. So we will have like Q&A sections right after each sections. So if you have any questions, please write down your questions in the chat box or the Q&A section, or you can just raise your hand and we will forward your questions to Dr. Yang, and you can directly interact and talk with Dr. Yang. So then allow me 1 minute to introduce a little bit of our other events. In case you are new to our society, you don't know our society before. So the Martlets Society is like a platform for young scholars, researchers, especially young scholars, to share their ideas, exchange thoughts, especially we promote interdisciplinary exchanges. So right now we have like 3 types of events. One is focusing on academic research, and one is focusing on sharing the stories beyond academia. And we also have a workshop for skill sets building up, and also special events where we organize based on the request of our audience. So previously we have Professor Zhen who will share his stories on being a social media influencer. So if you are interested in our events and want to know more about us, or you are interested in being a host or a speaker, please check our website or send us email or follow us on Twitter and the WeChat official account. So now I will pass my floor to Dr. Kang, and he will introduce our guest.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Wenbin Kang. Because I'm a new face in Martlets Society, so I need to introduce myself first. So I started in Shanghai Jiangsu University for my undergraduate and a master, and then I came to Oxford to finish my PhD. Now I'm in Max Planck Institute for Intelligent Systems as a postdoc fellow. My research focused on soft robots and energy harvesting. Okay, let's move on to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Yunfang Yang. Yunfang is a postdoc researcher in the Department of Engineering Science at the University of Oxford. Her research is related to developing minimally invasive medical devices. She started her research from soft robots in Tsinghua University, and then she came to Oxford for her PhD to do some research related to the origami-inspired reconfigurable metamaterials. And I know she also took part in an exchange program in Harvard University. And in the last year of her PhD, he started her Bilibili channel on frontier science and technologies. And also she did some video channel related to STEM education on origami engineering. And now she is very keen on the tech transfer of her medical device project to the market, and with the help of Oxford University Innovation. And in the past, she was awarded the Tsinghua Principal Scholarship in her undergraduate and the Clarendon Scholarship in her DPhil study at Oxford. Now, I will pass the floor to Dr. Yunfang Yang to start today's talk. Welcome.
Thank you, Wenbin. Thank you so much for the kindly introduction. And thank you, Zhen, for inviting me here. I'm super excited to talk about this topic. And especially I saw a lot of familiar names in the audience. I guess when you see this poster, you may start to think, huh, this person I know. So she eventually decided to give up her academia career and then turned to be a KOL along home. I wonder what she's thinking. So today I'm gonna exactly tell you what I was thinking. And my goal is that I hope by the end of this talk, you may start to think, maybe I should try it as well. I can start from a video and maybe build my personal brand. All right, so I think that's pretty much my goal here. And I'll just share my screen now. Jen, could you please stop sharing? Okay, cool. Got it. Does everyone see this? Okay, cool. All right. So first, let me just repeat who I am again. So I would see my current role as threefolds. The first one is an origami researcher. So I studied my undergraduate in Tsinghua on soft robotics, similar to Wenbin, and also bioprinting and drug delivery. Then I went to this summer intern in Carnegie Mellon, and the topic I was working on is for origami spirit drug delivery. That's the first time I get in touch with origami, and I found this major is so cool. Like somebody can really research on this kind of things and solve real engineering problems. And in that summer, I getting acquainted with my current PhD supervisor, Professor Zong Yu, and then I eventually ended up in Oxford working on modular origami inspired reconfigurable metamaterials. It sounds a little bit long. I'm gonna introduce you to exactly what that is. And to be honest, this research, it's sort of far from our daily life. Like this kind of super metamaterials, that would be something happen in around 20 or 30 years. So I tried really hard to find some collaborations to build some engineering applications based on my research. I went to Harvard for this inflatable origami project in my third year of DPhil. So that's more related to this big architecture things. You can think like you want to fold a tent or fold some architectures. And I also had collaborations with like robotics and materials to have some electromagnetic materials. And currently I'm working on this medical device project, which also very luckily I happened to run into in my fourth year. So it is a collaboration project with the hospital in Cambridge and Oxford. So we work very closely with some ophthalmologists and surgeons to develop two kinds of medical devices. One is a very tiny micro stent for glaucoma. So it's the kind of thing you can actually inject into humans' eyes to cure this disease, and it can really save people's vision. And another one is a protection device for this heart surgery. So it's called cerebral embolic protection device for the transcatheter aortic valve implantation. This is the kind of tool that the doctors will use when they do this aortic valve implantation. It can help prevent some debris going to the brain of the patients and can, in that case, save their lives. So these two projects, I see it more from an entrepreneurial angle, because eventually we do want to commercialize these products. And we're currently patent the two designs we have for the glaucoma one. And we have done some preclinical trials. The data is very beautiful. So we're working on the animal test in London and also collaborate with some hospital in China. Ideally, I would like to have a startup on this two devices, and hopefully it would be based in China. So I'm also very keen on the tech transfer of this technologies. So I'm currently also the venture fellow at some funds that my friends started, and an active member in some academia like communities such as in transcription and SparkX. So if you have any similar ideas, you want to turn your research, some special technology into a startup company in the future, feel free to reach out to me. I think there are some resources we can really provide help to you. So that sounds like a traditional like researcher turning to entrepreneur. And where is the influencer part go in? So this part actually happens in the last year of my DPhil. So I started to opened my own channel called Yang Xiaozhe in 2020. And you can find it on YouTube, on Bilibili, on Xiaohongshu. So it's a lot of different platforms, but the same video. And so in that one, I mainly talk about the origami technology and some frontier technology. Although at the very beginning, it's just some books I read or some vlogs. And I also have a 公众号 called 小哲说. So that one is I'm still writing on these days. Nearly every week, I would write some papers about entrepreneurship and the things I'm working on, some personal thoughts on it. So feel free to subscribe to it. And some other things I did as influencer is I also had this origami engineering course in paper airplane, although it's mainly for little children. So it's for children around 10 to 12 years old. Well, actually, you can study aerodynamics from the paper airplane. You know, I'm gonna teach the little children how to fold a paper that can fly higher or fly longer. And there are actually physical and engineering principles in this paper airplane. So that series courses is in 少年得到. So if you have any cousins or friends are having little children, you feel free to recommend it to them. Yeah, so basically that's my 3 roles. And I think for today, I'm going to talk about the first part is about my transformation in these different roles. So it's not like I switch from a researcher to an entrepreneur and then to an influencer. It's like I'm collecting them one by one, but eventually these are all together in like as part of me now. And the second part would be if you start to feel like, you want to try it as well, you want to build a video channel or something, I'm going to tell you how you can make the move step by step and what's the possible outcome of this video thing. Okay. All right. So for the first one, I'll just go back to what I'm doing. So I'll start from the research, which is origami. I don't know if you know anything about this research. If not, so briefly saying it's like people study how do you change the shape of any kind of material and make it transform from one shape to another so that it can have different functionalities. So imagine we have A4 paper. You can fold it into a coin and then turn it back into the paper and fold it airplane and then maybe fold it to a boat. So this A4 paper, it can change into so many different shapes. And it can you can drive it on the road or put it in a river. And imagine we can use that technology for different materials in our lives. So that's what we study exactly in our lab. And here I just want to give you a very intuitive idea of what the lab looks like. So this is a video I made last year in our lab. I'm sorry. I think maybe you cannot hear the sound, but I'll just tell you what it is. Anyway, so this is the current lab I'm in. You can see there are a lot of messy models on this table. Actually, I think I fold all of them, maybe most of them. And we have some laser cut rubber material. So this is like for magnetic applications. That's why we have some copper foil on it. And we have 2 3D printers, desktop printers, and a paper cutter. And yeah, so that's like a platform where you can crush the origami models, which is so sad. And we have multiple different kind of tools. So yeah, so this is you can watch the full video online. I had it last year. It's like the very first video I made. So actually in this lab, we do make a lot of paper fold models. And what are we using them for? Actually, origami can be used for many engineering applications. Like this is a origami patent stent where my supervisor actually did, like I think 15 years ago. So our group is the first one who has implemented this kind of stent. So all those minimally invasive things, you have to fold them into very small scale, put them in the catheter, and then go into people's body, right? So this folding design of the structure is actually quite challenging. You need to make sure they can be so very small and then also deploy into the same size, and it can do this over and over again. So that's where our technique are useful in this kind of things. And also solar panels. This one, it can open up into a very large scale, but it can also go very small to put it in a space shape. And this video here, oh, sorry. I should let you hear the sound because otherwise it would be very weird. So this one is a video I made about what I was doing. It looks a little bit awkward, but anyway, so you see it's different from usually as a researcher when you introduce your research to others, right? So in this one, I sort of make this metaphor to say like metamaterial is similar to the superpower in these movies. So metamaterial means like it's artificial material. We have this special structure design in the material so that their physical property is changed. Different from traditional materials, they have superior like acoustic, optic, or mechanical properties. And I think it's actually similar to the superpower of human, right? So that's why I sort of mix them together and then have this appealing opening so that like normal people, like my parents, they would find it interesting and they would want to continue watching it and know more about this kind of research. So I think that's the storytelling way that making video is telling me. Right, so that's my research. And also for origami, we have this origami conference every 4 years, and the last one is holding in Oxford. So you can see in this book, it's actually talking about origami in mathematics, engineering, and education and art. So despite the science part, it actually is very useful in art and education as well. I remember one of the artists, they want to bring this big sculpture to the conference. And actually it's quite easy because they can fold the sculpture in a piece of material and then deploy it in front of the conference. And it is amazing. It's an origami tower and it's still in our lab these days. So that's the whole interesting thing I've been researching on for my DPhil. All right, skip the movie again. There is always a doubt. Even for this kind of research, it can still be very painful sometimes. I think if you have a similar feeling, I would encourage you to like maybe type 1 or share your thoughts in the chat. Is it similar to you that at the very first year of your PhD, you feel like, wow, I'm going to do amazing research, I'm going to publish a lot of papers, I'm going to find an academia position by the end of my PhD, and everything's going to be fine. I'm having so many plans for my research. And then in the second year, you're just stuck there. You just find it's too challenging to find a new space that nobody has explored, and yet it has big impact on like other aspects, and yet it can be collaboratable with other fields. So that's exactly what I felt in my second year, and I felt very alone in that process. Like for metamaterial, how can I share it with my parents, with my friends at that time? They're not interested in, and I don't know a very good way to make them interested in this kind of things, because it's having so little impact in our daily life. And for this long research, your lack of immediate feedback to publish a good paper, it needs at least 1 or 2 years. So you need to try to give yourself some positive feedback. And it just kind of suffering during that process. And even with that, this academia career is also very, very competitive. Luckily, you can find a good field that you can have the publication, but for most kind of situations, after 4 or 5 years, we still don't have like very good, very nice papers with high impact factors, but you need to compete with the smartest people in the world, compete with all those students in the top universities. And I think really it's very hard to survive, especially in these days in the academia field. So by the end of my PhD, especially in the 4th year, I tried very hard to find a postdoc position. It's 2019, that winter. I remember exactly on the date of my birth, I flew to US to pitch my research to several different groups. I literally fly to from Boston and to Stanford and to Berkeley, like all these different places with my box of origami model. And researchers are always interested in these models. They're always interested to talk about your research, but it's totally a different story to give you a position and then promise you stay here as a postdoc for the next 2 or 3 years. So eventually, I didn't really luckily get a position in those labs I went to, probably because of the COVID, because in 2020, a lot of labs, they don't really have the fund, they don't really have those positions, and it's hard to travel. So I was, and also London and Oxford was locked down at that time in the spring of 2020. So that's really, I think, could be one of the really dark moments in my total PhD life. You don't know where you're going to be in 3 months' time. And I'm quarantined, so I cannot see most of my friends face to face. And I cannot go back to China to be with my parents. I try to drag myself from that anxiety. So at that time, I happened to read a book. The name is this. So it says about a British girl, a British young lady, went to China, and she fell in love with the Chinese cuisine. So she decided to stay in there and learn how to cook. So she studied in a cook school in China. And that book is very interesting and calm. So it sort of cured me at that time. I really want to share it with someone, but it just seems a little bit awkward. Like you really call somebody to tell them, hey, I read this book about a British girl learning Chinese cuisine. So suddenly this mind hit me. I can make a video of it. I just post it online and maybe some stranger can see it. After I had that thought, it just took me 2 days to post that very first video. What I did was that I used my cell phone and shoot it on the balcony and then just edit it using my cell phone and then upload it to YouTube. That's everything. And I didn't really tell any of my friends or my parents about it. I think a little bit embarrassed, but that thing itself, it is actually very curing. Like it really gives you this sense of happiness and fulfillment because I'm talking about something I really enjoy. I'm talking about it in a way I like and with the background music I like. So I continue to do it again and again and again. So these are the topics I had talked about, like the origami bag that Miyake has done, and this kinetic sculptures. Oh, that sculpture is so amazing. And this mechanical monsters. These are the things I really like as a researcher and also in my daily life. I just never had a chance to share it formally to other people, but making video just gave me a very good excuse to do that. And during this process, I actually make a lot of very good friends online. So this guy Li Ziran, he is like an entrepreneur in China. He mostly work on softwares, and he is also like making videos, sharing his thoughts on the business strategies of different companies. And Danny Data shares about electric cars. And Bidao, maybe some of you know him. He's just this mentor in Tsinghua, very funny guy. And we talked like how he started his journey as a KOL and how he ended up like this. He is exactly like what he showed in the video. Very funny, very interesting guy. And by working with them, actually opened a lot of opportunities to me that I have never thought of. One of them is to having these education courses. So the first one I did is with 少年得到. We have this class about paper airplane. So basically, I think I taught the children to make like around 10 paper airplanes and how to make them fly further or higher, and what's the mechanical principle in them. And like in this video, I'm sorry. Let me try to. Oh, this video is not moving. But anyway, it's like a little paper dinosaur where you just crush it, it can jump up. So that's like another course I made about this origami things. And we also did some little trial to start a online education company. Because if you remember last year, there is a strike on the online education, right, for the K-12 education. And at that time, we were thinking, the traditional online education is not really working. Maybe the parents would switch to STEM education. So if we have this course about origami engineering, maybe that can become popular. So we had this company where me and 2 other KOLs, we had this series of courses about origami and about little toy cars, things like that. And that didn't really went well because we underestimate the strike of online education. But anyway, that's a very interesting trial. And that's the first time I tried to build a startup with all the other people. And these people are not in my social network before. And it's totally because of making these videos led me to them. And with Li Ziran and Danny Data, we have this little community where a group of video maker, we would have this online meeting every week, talk about the topics we want to make, give feedback to each other. It's really like a little like an artist community, because these videos are like the artworks you make, and you get to know what other people's preference on the videos. So I think that's an amazing journey. And moreover, this making videos thing, it's sort of switching my mindset from a researcher's mindset to more like an entrepreneurial mindset. And what does that mean? When I was a researcher, I felt like I more care about like the publications, what kind of achievement can I make? What's like the kind of science, the observation of different things. And I really care about what other people really need in their daily life. But when you're making a video, you actually try to know your audience, try to know all those little children that come to your classes, what they need and what can I offer to them. At that time, I started to do my medical device postdoc project. To be honest, at the beginning, I don't really think I would start this company based on this, because I think there's too much pressure and there's just too many people work that I'm not good at. Although I know there is this potential commercialization opportunity in this whole thing, but gradually, while I was doing this video, with this project continue, I found there's this similarity between making a medical device to making a video. You're always searching for the need of others and trying to solve others' problems. So for example, we actually went to see the surgeons do the surgery. So this is the CAS lab in Newcastle. And we went to see the surgeon. They do like 4 surgeries that day. It started from 8 o'clock. So everybody need to dress like this and just go there, see the surgeons. They put a catheter in people's body to replace the heart valve. And we would observe it very carefully. And right after the surgery, we discuss with the surgeon what's the complication happened in the surgery, what kind of things he feel can be changed in this whole tool. It's quite complicated, this whole tool to make the heart valve surgery. And also for that micro stent for glaucoma, I had some very creepy experience about it, because we need to test this little implants in live tissue. So our ophthalmologist tried to get 10 dead people's head and for us to try it, implant it. So that time it went to Cambridge, it was in a basement, and the operator just put tent hat on the bed. And then that's the first time I see a dead people. And then we just clean the eyes and implant these things in the people's eye. And after the implant, you need to scan the eyes to see if the stents are in the right position. So if you have ever done an eye diagnosis, you would remember in hospital, you would put your head in a kind of tool that's holding your head and can scan your eyes. So we need to put the dead people's head in that tool. So I help the assistant just to, we hold that head into that tool and then scan it. It's quite special experience, I would say. But I found it so interesting. I'm really curious about this process, not only in the research part, but also in how do you find those needs of the doctors, of the patients, and how can you use your knowledge, your engineering knowledge to solve these problems, and how to make this product, and go through all the regulation and hire the right people and build this company. I mean, I think there is this naturally born curiosity in researchers. We are generally very interested in science and technology. But now I think I'm also quite interested in like the society, like the business and the people work. And I think the thing triggered me to change is actually making the videos. It led me to know more people and led me to know their real needs and what I can offer to them. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much the first part of my personal journey, and we can have a little break now. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask. And also, I think there are some people here that also has their personal brand, like Zhen is having this Martlets Society itself. It's a little community, and yeah, you are feel free to share your experience as well. Yeah, should we just if you have any questions, you can raise your hand and we can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I personally have some questions, but I think I should wait for our audience to, in case they have any questions to ask. I actually saw like a question posted in like the Q&A section, and he asked, like he or she asked, does your advisor or supervisor know that you are doing work outside of academics, and how to get his or her permission? And thanks.
Oh, sorry, Zhen, I didn't really catch the question. I took my microphone off. Could you please just repeat it again?
No problem. I mean, it's just like the audience, like post his or her questions in the QA section.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He or she said that does your advisor or supervisor know that you are doing work outside of academics, and how to get his or her permission? Yeah.
Yeah, he's aware of that, because I actually filmed our lab, so I need to get his permission to do that. Otherwise, yeah, he wouldn't be happy if I just post some video about his lab. I think my supervisor is a really nice guy, so he just generally encourages us to explore our interests in our spare time. So just make sure that you still do your research very well. You just keep working on your main like papers and all the other things, and in your spare time, you're free to do these things. And I think it's totally personal choice. Your supervisor shouldn't have a say on that. And yeah, I think he's encouraging on that, unless I'm not really finishing my paper, but that's not what I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we have another question. So
yeah.
Wenbin, you can.
Which role? Oh, this question is, which role brings you the most pleasure? As a researcher, influencer, or entrepreneur? I think
which role?
The question.
Sorry, what?
Which role?
Yeah. Which role?
Which role do you prefer? Yeah, I think the question is that.
I think, well, these are, I mean, these three roles, they're not conflict to each other. I think that the best way is to combine them if you have that energy. Yeah, but I would say there is like a leading role in the three of them. And for my current situation, I am more like an entrepreneur because this medical devices we're working on, we already have the patent and we're really moving to a stage that we can consider to build this startup on it. So I would obviously put most of my energy on this role. But still, I wouldn't really give up on the other two roles. If it takes a lot of time to make the videos, then I just switch to this blog I'm currently working. So that's just one of the ways you can choose to make the other roles lighter, but you can still keep them. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we have another audience who raised his hand. I will promote her to the panelist. So she can, it's Jennifer.
Jennifer?
Yeah. So I promote her. I promoted her to the panelist, but is she in panelist now?
Hi.
Hi, Jennifer.
We can see you here.
Could you please unmute yourself so we can hear you?
Yes.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can
Yes,
hear you
we
now.
can hear you.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'm currently a PhD student in sport rehabilitation. So that is a field related to the health, but I'm also doing social media work. So I'm running a social media account, but now I just confused about how to fight against the pseudoscience audience. And for those who don't think science is a good thing for them, like someone will don't trust science, then how to deal with this problem?
Well, my advice would be you don't really just debate with them because it's meaningless. I actually have a friend who's sharing his thoughts on should you go back to work in China or stay in US. He actually chose to go back to China, and there are a lot of audience just having this comment saying, showing their opinion that's quite different from what he said in that video. And he tried to reason with the audience, but it's really useless. I mean, some people, if they don't really believe in this, you cannot persuade them to believe in this. And I think the purpose of social media is to attract like-minded. There are some people that really agree with you, and the reason you're making this is just scaring these people, and you can make connections with them. For those who don't believe it, there are people like that, and I'm going to mention that in the later section. I personally had that experience as well. I really find reasoning is useless. You just ignore them and just be polite and just talk to people that think your content is valuable. Yeah, I think that's my opinion on that.
Thank you. So in our area, there's a term called evidence-based medicine. So that is what we are looking for, to study, do some research and publish papers, use these results to inform people and for our patients. But nowadays they trust the social media, misinformation, and those patients who don't trust us, they don't trust the evidence in our research. So how can we convince those stakeholders to trust us?
I see. So if you're saying that evidence is like a data, if you're just showing the data of a research paper, like when people, they open a video, they would never find it appealing to them. They would never feel like the data evidence is attractive to them. I think if they found some other videos are more convincing, maybe you can try to change the way you share your research and your knowledge as well. Just make the way you tell them more attractive, just to compete with the others. And I think there's way to do that. Yeah, like Bidao and so like Li Yongle 老师, they're doing very well. And I think they're not just saying misunderstanding things. Am I answering that question? I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
So just do our work better than the others, and then let the audience decide who they are going to believe.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, any questions more?
I think we have another questions coming in the chat Q&A section.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Maybe I can read it out, and
Yes.
then I will have my one last questions like in this sections, and then we can probably move on to the next section. So from Q&A is like he asked like how to choose which part to show from to form your current research in your video, because it's really interesting and exciting to share your work that. Okay, because
that part.
Oh yeah.
How
basically ask like how do you decide which part to show, which part of research to show in your video? Because sometimes it might be conflict with your interest, because some of the result might not be published yet. I think that's what he is. He is
I see. I see. Well, like making these videos is totally different from like a research webinar. It's totally different. It's not about like you're talking about one of your paper. It's more about this field or this common topics that people might be interested. So speaking of my own channel, I really talk about what I'm really working on. The most relevant one would be the metamaterial one, but that one is still very general. I mainly talk about what this research is. So that is the question you want to answer. It's not what you are researching on, but generally what is this field about. And I made some videos like how people use origami in furnitures, in robotics. How do we design a solar panel using origami? What kind of deployable medical devices there are in the market? So actually, these are irrelevant to my research, but these are the questions that we generally in this field we want to solve. So that's the part I choose to talk about in the video. And still, the question is, think about what others want to hear. It's not what you want to share. What kind of information your audience might find helpful to them. So if you're talking about research, that would be what would be the most interesting thing to any person who has never heard of your field. And you can just make a database of the topics you think about and then start from that.
Yeah, great. So Dr. Yang, I might have one question like before you move to the next session. So my question might be relevant to what you're gonna talk about in the next part. So my question is like, a lot of people, especially people in academia or any fields, there are a lot of people trying to like change to another path, career path, or move to another career path, but not everyone can succeed. So what kind of traits people should possess in order to succeed in transit into another career path? Or it's like, this is kind of my questions.
How to success in transferring to
to another career path, like because many people want to do that, but I think very few people succeed in doing so, or even I don't even have the courage to do so. So
I think having the courage is more important than succeed. Well, actually, my question would be, if you know you're not going to succeed, would you just stop doing it? If you just always thinking, okay, because I've been doing research for such a long time, this is the thing I'm best at, so I should just focus on that. If I just choose another path, I'm not good at that, I'm very likely to fail, then maybe I shouldn't do that. A lot of people thinking that way. But I don't think that's the way we should look at this problem. When we started to do research, we don't have any experience in this field as well. And would you say you're successful now? Maybe you're still struggling. Everybody's struggling doing their research. You cannot really say you're a successful researcher, right? So switch to another field. You don't know if you're going to start with success. And like for the video channel I built, although I have like around 40,000 fans, but I don't really think that that's a succeed, because I stopped making videos right now. It's just taking too much time of mine. But still, I think that's an extremely valuable experience to me. It really changed my mindset, changed my characters, and let me make so many friends. That thing itself, this experience itself, is the most important thing. It's not about the success. I have this feeling that because we've been top university for such a long time, that everybody living this very competitive environment, we always want to compete with others, always want to success. But this switch of mindset is to make your focus, change it from yourself to other things. Just stop thinking, I want to be successful, I want to achieve something. Think about what kind of offering you can give others. So that's a huge difference in that. If you think of others, it's more like, how can you improve that? It's not about you feel good or feel bad about yourself. And if you do a very good job, you have a very good product or services, eventually people will give you reward. They will pay you for that. You will success. But the purpose is not just to have personal success at the first time, at the first place. Yeah, so I think if anybody want to try some new things, just you have the bravery is very important. You have that strength to make the first move. It's very important, but don't consider if I fail or something. Nobody can tell you if you're gonna success or fail. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's very well said. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm going to mention that in the second part. So yeah, I can continue with that if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, cool. So the first part is just more about myself, and the second part is more about the audience, about you. Now I'm going to persuade, I hope everyone in front of the screen to think about, can I build a personal brand myself? Can I try to make a video channel or a blog myself from today? And the first thing is why you should do that. Yeah, I know this idea might sound a little bit scary. It is scary to me at the first place. Like all of the researchers, I don't really want to attract attention. I don't really want to be famous as a Wanghong. Especially, I don't want to make a fool myself, showing those TikTok videos and say some bad jokes. That's totally not the person I want to be. But if you're thinking that way, maybe there is a misunderstanding of attract attention. I think everybody as a researcher, we want to publish high impact factor papers, right? You wouldn't resist being famous if you publish a Nature journal and every peer of you come to say, wow, well done, you're a famous guy, and then respect you for that. You would be so happy to do that. You just want to be famous in the way that you like. And you think like making videos, being famous as a KOL is something not so decent. But actually what I want to say is that I think that's not true. For example, this person here, so I don't know how to, somehow I cannot play this video. But anyway, this one called Zhi Huijun, maybe some of you have heard of him. So he made a lot of videos of himself building little robots or little TVs in his dormitory or workshop. It's very plain, it's very hardcore, and it's very popular online. You see, he has over 2 million fans. There are people just quite interested in somebody making these robots and telling you how to do it. And he just used video as a very good media to expose to more people, let more people know that you can actually build this kind of things in your lab. And that's one example. And also we have this like Li Yongle 老师 and Bidao. These two are much more famous, right? Li Yongle is like a middle school teacher. He's always just writing on the blackboard. And Vidal is so interesting. His major is in chemistry, but he don't really talk about his research. So he answer questions like, how do you skiing, like things like that. And his video is very funny, and also just like the kind of video that a researcher would do. So if you can attract attention, if you can be famous in a way that these persons did, would you prefer to do that? Would you want to do that? As for me, I think, yeah, I would want to be someone like that. So that's the first part. The second one is one of the person, this one is called Muna Prakash. This is a Stanford professor in the origami field. And he actually invented this thing. I actually have this in my hand. So if you can see me here, this is a little microscope. And this microscope is made by origami. And it only costs $2. So for all the students in biology, we know a microscope is so expensive, and it's hard to move, like from your lab to other places. But this guy, what he focused on is called frugal science, is to use very cheap materials to build these scientific tools. Like you can actually use $2 to build a microscope, so that like children in Africa, in India, they don't have, they cannot afford expensive microscope, but they can have this kind of little pieces. If you look at from this little hole here, you have a little sample in the middle, you can actually observe the whole thing. So this professor, he once said that the experience of science is actually inaccessible to a lot of people around the world. We actually have this privilege to study in the top universities. We have this privilege to understand these so difficult technology problems, but a lot of people, they don't have access to that. It's not because they're not smart. They are some of them are smarter than us, but they just don't have the resources. But we're lucky enough to have the resource. So maybe we should think about, can we reinvent these scientific tools to make them more affordable, just like a pencil, and give this pencil to everyone. So imagine then, what would people actually draw with these tools? I think that vision is similar to like the other, when we do the video channels. I would see it as a window into this world to make people more curious. I really enjoy like making this origami engineering, but there's a lot of people, they never know you can really research on origami, and a lot of engineering problems can be solved by these kind of things. So my mission here is to let them exposed to this topic, get everybody available to this pencil, and see what kind of magic collaborations and ideas they're gonna have if they see these ideas. So I think that's like the bigger side of why we're going to do that. And last but not least, whether you want it or not, everybody already has your personal brand. Like we have Chen and Instagram, and your LinkedIn, your ResearchGate. You already post a lot of your personal information in the social media. And think of a personal brand as more like your impact in some field. So that when people think of something, they would want to come to you for advice. So for example, in Chen, we have some friends that major in law or in medical or a dentist. So if we have some problems in lawsuit, or we want to go to find some good doctors, we would come to them, right? If we want to make a good cuisine, I would come to my mom because he has her personal brand in that field. But would anybody come to us for some research advice? There barely is, right? Maybe your parents' friends would come to you to say, can you give my children some advice on how to study good, things like that. So is it possible that we can promote the science engagement by making this video channel so that people can see more of us? They can come to you actually for advice, or actually from some good collaboration ideas. When I started my video channel, like I actually received collaborations on designing this deployable tent, and also some collaborations to build this education courses. Actually, I received several collaboration opportunities on those education courses and books and like events. And also, yeah, a lot of different kind of things. It never came to you when you just do your research. And when we have this video channel, it's like your business card. Maybe somebody don't know you, but but when they see your video, they already know what kind of person you are. And that can actually build you a strong effort in such a competitive environment. So my advice is that don't let your degree limit your imagination. Don't just focus on the research that you're supposed to do. Maybe just do something. It might sound like useless, but you never know. Eventually, it may turn out to be some huge opportunities that you never thought of. Yeah, so if all of this persuasion just make you think a little bit, maybe you want to try it. Now I'm going to tell you how to make the move very detailedly, okay? So the first step is always to choose the content and the platform. You need to choose whether you want to write a blog, a podcast, or make a video. So blog is lighter. Like for the blog I'm writing now on WeChat, usually it just takes me 1 or 2 nights per week. So that's very little burden. If you don't really have time or anything, you can start from a blog. And podcast is more like if you can keep talking for 1 or 2 hours every week, or you have some friends who's willing to do that, you can try that as well. And video, this is actually a format I would recommend the most because it's having so many different skills in together. To start a video, you need to write the timeline. You need to write this whole content you want to like shooting on. And then you need to shoot it. You need to choose a good environment. You need to control your face when you're talking, and you need to make it appealing. And also you have to do the editing and all the operation of the whole channel. So that's a whole bunch of skills that you can train yourself on. And these skills, I think it's it's like a barrier from you to other researchers. If you know how to make video, that's actually gonna help you in a lot of aspects. And the last one is short video, like TikTok. Actually, that's something I wouldn't recommend because short video, it requires you to attract others' attention in like 20 or 30 seconds. That means you need to be very creative and you need to know what the audience like very much. And that's something I think as a researcher in academia is maybe not very good at. And also for short video, you need to, the frequency of these videos is quite high. So maybe you should post one every 2 or 3 days. And by the way, for the other format, like for blog, you can have one article like 2 or 3 days or per week. For podcast and video, usually like once a week. But like even for once a week, it's still taking a lot of time. When I was doing video, it usually take me around 2 days to do a video. So that means you don't have any weekend. You would spend your whole weekend on making video and no more just leveling, traveling, just all focus on the video. Just think about if you can afford such a lot of time. And the platform for the videos, YouTube and Bilibili, these are like 2 videos platform I would recommend. And the difference between them is that YouTube, the speed of raising fans is quite slow. You can only monetize your channel until you have 1,000 fans, and it took me a year to get that first 1,000 fans. So it's just really slowly you would see, okay, I got 2 fans a day, and then like maybe 1 next day. So it's a very slow tendency like that. But for Bilibili, it's quicker. So it's quicker, but it also has that problem that a lot of audience, they may not believe in what you say, so they can have this comments on the video. So that's what the previous question is about. And that can be a little bit annoying, but that's something we should learn to live with, okay? And for blog, you can choose 公众号 or 知乎. Actually, for 知乎, I would recommend people to do video or live streaming these days, because there are just so many people writing articles on 知乎. It's so competitive today. And maybe you can choose another format to make yourself different from others, like just having a video on 知乎 and maybe writing blogs on Bilibili. But yeah, it sounds stupid, but that's actually useful. And for Xiaohongshu, a lot of people have a like a impression that it's usually for girls, like for clothes and bags. It was, but actually at least 2 or 3 months ago, I remember the editor told me they're actually encouraging this science videos and technology videos. So if your video is about this kind of contents, it's very likely that they're going to promote you to expose to more audience. So you can also consider Xiaohongshu as well for videos. And TikTok and Shipinghao, I'm not really familiar with those, but they are more for short video that we cannot really compete very well with. So reconsider if you want to choose those platforms. And then how to do it. So this is one I think is very universal. This advice is to, for your first video, if you haven't started, just make the video and upload it in 1 or 2 days. So for the first video, always don't buy any facility, just use your phone. And if you think it's too noisy, you don't have a microphone, just do it indoor. And if you don't have any light, just sit in front of a window so the sunlight will hit on your face. That's the best light. And don't walk around because the camera will shake. That would be very destructive. And the topic, talk about something that you like, really talk about something you like and helpful to others. So that, because making the video itself, it's going to take a lot of time and effort. It's quite tired. So at least talking things you like can make the progress less stressful. And also, if it's helpful to others, you would get the feedback very quickly, and that will help you to continue doing this. So always for the first months, the goal is to help you develop it as a habit. You get used to shooting the videos and making it. And then for the software, I would recommend just basic video editing. Like if you're using Mac, you can just use iMovie. And the background music, you can just use YouTube channel audio library. It's totally free. And they have this calm, like a music. You can just very easily find them. Thumbnail, just use PPT. We can do very good posters. So the thumbnail for the video, just don't spend too much time on it. But think about the title. Don't just have some like plain title saying about like the principle of battery. That's a little bit too plain. Make it compelling to others. Make it sound like helpful. So considering when you are seeing these videos on YouTube, what kind of videos would you pop open? You would see those you thought can be helpful to yourself, right? So think of some title that sounds like that. And that's, I think, what you should do for the first video. And then the next one is just keep doing it for 1 month, at least 1 month, every week. I wouldn't encourage you just to shoot a video and then wait for 2 weeks and shoot another one. You have to do it in this high frequency every week, have a new video and keep doing it for 1 month to see if you're suitable for that. And while you are doing that, you don't really need to change a lot of things, just develop the habit. And during this process, you have a very good excuse to watch a lot of other channels and learn from them. So these are some videos I would recommend to all of you. So think about it. If you're majoring in triple E, you can actually have a video talking about your day, like 12 hours of work, and you can have some advices for other triple E researchers. If your major is in economy, you can talk about the rates, how to be a banker. If you're majoring in medical, you can talk about cancer. You see, these thumbnails and these titles are actually quite compelling. How long can you live if you have cancer? Wow, that's somebody want to listen to, right? So these are exactly the topics you can think of, not really about some research papers you're really working on. And also, like this one, I think he knows something of biology, so how to really deal with the genes and all the other things. And for the physics, you can talk about time and metaverse, things like that. So explore your topic. At the very beginning, you will be very excited. You would have this huge database saying like things you want to talk about, and it's quite fun. I actually has 2 friends that started to do their a blog and video at the same time as me. The first one is Wang Dage, so he is in Stanford, and his major is in battery. So I remember his very first video, like maybe like the second or third one. he has a whiteboard and he's just talking about what is battery, and just like Li Yongle 老师, yeah, it's quite interesting to watch that kind of videos. And then he pivot from it. He shoot about his like lift with waiting and also his traveling. And when he go back to China and when he was quarantined, he had a series of talking about why he chose to go back to China, and what the life is like in US and China. So that series of video make him very famous, but he don't really like the debate in those videos. So eventually he pivot again, and now it's more about lift waiting. And I think that's what he really enjoys. And the second one, Yu Zaishui, is also a friend of mine, MIT. His major is EEE, but he don't really write about his research. His blog is quite interesting. He just write letter to his parents, letters about his life and his research, and also his, I don't know, different kind of opinions on living in US. And that one, I think, I really like reading what he writes. And by seeing these channels, this blog, you can actually trace the change of the author, of the video maker. And that is quite interesting, yeah. And are there any bad experience? Of course. If you're not really talented in video, which is most people wouldn't be very talented, you would eventually reach a platform where you wouldn't have more fans and you cannot think of some very interesting topics. You just stop there, like your research. My advice at that certain situation is that try not to focus on the number, try not to compete with others, focus on your audience. What I did was that I put my QR code, my WeChat QR code on the video, and I asked my audience to add my WeChat. And then I would have this brief introduction of myself, and then I introduce them to tell me who they are and what they want to hear, what they're interested in. I just want to know more about my audience, who is just opening my videos and listening to them. And I found they're actually quite different from what I imagined. And some of them are quite interesting. So I try to focus on exactly the people and their really their daily life needs, and that can help you feel less about the competition and focus on your content. And also you can reach out to other content creator and communities. There is a time I frequently just contact like Bidao and Lindsay and all these sort of famous people on YouTube and just ask for them their advice. They're actually quite helpful in these communities. That you would find a lot of people, like-minded people, doing the same thing, and you can actually be very good friends. It's quite easy to build this trust between you and others. And the third advice is actually you can consider startup business, because we always have this thought that when you're doing research, it sounds like the thing you're supposed to do. It sounds like because you're having your PhD, so that you should write the papers rather than having some videos. But if you can really monetize your video content, start a business on that, it's more like a part-time job. You would be more serious about this thing. And when you devote more on the video, you can actually gain more from it. So that's what I did for that education one. We really explore, can we just make a little company and then sell the course to others? We do sell the course to others, but it's never so easy to do it. And that really gave me a hint of what the real life business is like. Yeah. So also, even if you have tried everything listed here, and still you think it's too, like it's taking such a lot of time, and you feel uncomfortable speaking in front of the camera, you want to stop, that's totally fine. It's okay. I don't really make videos these days. I feel a little bit embarrassed because today I'm talking about that, but I'm no longer doing videos because it's just taking such a long time. I really want to make each one of my video is different from each other. I really want to make the progress every time, but making progress is just taking so much energy, creativity from yourself. And I just cannot afford such a lot of time to do it now. So that's why I changed to something light. So this is my vlog I'm currently working on. It's quite light. It just takes me one night every week. But I really like it. It gives me this channel to show what I want to tell others, and it doesn't take a lot of time. So that's what I'm doing right now. And if you want to change to something light, you can always choose that. And lastly, I want to talk very briefly about the outcome. This is actually the last slide I have in here. And I think in general, what I want to say most today is, I think everybody should express ourselves more. We're living in a world that it's so easy to absorb the information from others. You can read endless news. You can see so many films, get so many information about others' research publications. We tend to be influenced by all the other informations until you start to express your own opinion. You impact others based on your own thoughts. I used to be a person that's really afraid of express my own opinions, especially in front of a group of people. I just feel a little bit uncomfortable and embarrassed when I do that. But making this video, you are not really speaking in a group. You just speak to the camera, but it can express yourself it can make you exercise how to express more. And once you make the impact to others, it would gradually change your mindset, your personality. And I do think as a researcher, we have the strength to do that because we work on something that most of the people in the world, they're not familiar with. How many people in the world, they know how to build this origami medical device? Hardly anyone know such a thing like that. So I naturally have this topic to talk to other peoples. And although we see short video is quite popular these days, still people are earning for these long videos as long as the quality is very good. If you're really talking about some hardcore knowledge, even if it's 30 minutes, people would want to watch it, just like the thing that Zhi Huijun did. So we have this material. We just need to find a way to tell it in a very appealing storytelling method. And that's our weakness, obviously. Like most researchers, we know how to do a webinar, but we just maybe don't know how to make a video. So that storytelling thing, it's the thing you want to practice really hard. And also we can get this real world feedback. I always have this feeling that as a researcher, most of our feedback are from our supervisor, lab mates, and peer reviewers in the field. These are feedbacks from the scientific world, but what about the real world feedback? Does the people in your daily life, do they really care what your research is about? Would it really make an impact in the world? Maybe it's not. So if others don't get it, that's also part of the feedback. You should be aware of that and see how you can deal with it. So that's also part of the thing. I think it's valuable when I'm doing this video content. And finally, content is like the business cards. When somebody see your video, if they like it, they like it. The trust is built very quickly. So all those friends I made by making videos, we have never met each other in the real world, but we just trust each other so much, and we become very good friends. So I think like this social media is a very powerful tool that we can make good use of. Just build it from your research. You can do in the research and doing this at the same time. They're not complex. Just bravely express yourself more and then see where it leads you to. Yeah, so that's pretty much everything I want to say here today. And I think we can have more questions and anything, and anyone, if you want to share anything, your own experience, you're welcome to do so. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much for a nice talk.
Yeah.
And I really like it. Yeah, thank you.
Very nice talk, Yunfang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So does anyone have any questions, like, or you want to share some of your own stories? Please go ahead. Okay. Maybe before we're waiting for the audience, maybe I can ask one question.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
I also want to ask, like, what was the most like unforgettable and very like impressive like stories in your journey as a social media influencer and as a entrepreneur? Like, either it's a bad thing or either it's a positive thing or a negative thing. It can be. What's the most unforgettable stories you want to share with us? Yeah.
I think I would like to share the positive part of it.
Okay.
So it's this very little thing. So it's this connection you built with people. I remember when I started my video at the very beginning, I don't really have much confidence, you know, because I was really bad at the beginning. The video just looked horrible. And I dare not to really share it with my friends and my family. And I remember when my parents firstly watched the thing, they were just so happy. They felt like they never have a chance to know that much about my research, and they're surprised that I can actually express it in like such a common way to them, such an understandable way to them. And my parents, they keep, you know, when you're making these videos, actually the audience, they can give you some money for it. My parents keep giving me like 5 yuan or 10 yuan for every video I make. And I don't know why, it just it makes me feel very happy. It feels like I have this connection with my parents, although I haven't seen them for several years because of the COVID, but still they get to connect it to my life. And they would talk about the thing I said in the video every week with me. And that is very important to me. And I also had some audience, somebody would send this very long comments just privately to me. And there are some audience from, I can't remember the country's name in the English version, but just a very small country I never known. And she saw my video on YouTube. She just see the translation of the subtitle in English. And she said she has never known there is origami engineering, and she's so interested in that. She write a very long paragraph about it. And that is really shocking to me. I never know I can meet a girl in the very far end, in the other end of the world, and who would be so interested in this area. And yeah, so all these little comments, all this support from your family, your friends, I think that are the most important thing I had in this journey.
Thanks so much. It's very touching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw a message in the chat box. So Qi Qiaoling asked a question. Are you a full-time, you know, influencer on social media? You're not, I think.
No. No. Actually, I don't make the videos anymore. It's just taking too much time. Yeah. I once considered it for a very short time. That is when that video of metamaterial I made, that one actually at the beginning, I didn't thought a lot of people would be interested in. I saw metamaterial is too far from our daily life. But actually that video has, I think, 400,000 views. It's a shock to me. And after that, it's in a very short period of time, I thought, maybe I have this talent to be a KOL. Maybe I can try it in the future. But I think that's just a misunderstanding of myself. I'm not really good at that. Yeah, so no.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to another question. So would you make some comments on podcast, which seems easier at the start? Some comments on podcast.
Oh, that one, to be honest, I never tried podcast. I think some of my friends tried, like Danny Data, he tried that one. I sort of forget the platform he used, but the way he started that is he talked with some friends because if you just if it's just yourself, talking for 1 hour would be very challenging. So my advice would be you can find some friends together to chat, and you should have this outline of the topics you talk about. Otherwise, your chat would just drift away. Yeah. Sorry, I don't really have much experience on that. If anyone has experience on that, feel free to just raise your hand and then share.
Okay. Okay. So next question. So I'm in a situation to decide whether to look for postdoc positions. So may I ask why you choose to start a postdoc fellow while you are not really into research and thinking about other career paths? Okay.
When I started my postdoc, I really want to continue doing research. Yeah, so I mean, there is this change of mindset when I was doing postdoc. And I don't really think like postdoc is just for people who want to stay in academia. Like if you want to do research, you can always do a postdoc. Yeah, and it's okay. Like if you want to switch when you're doing postdoc, it's not too late. It's never too late to switch something else. Don't just think, now I'm already doing postdoc, I shouldn't just change my way. And also, I think it's because the nature of the project I'm working on, it's more like an engineering problem. It will eventually turn to this commercialization of medical devices. So it's not really like a very sharp change of my path. It just naturally lead me there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, next question from Jinxing Li. Have you tried or thought about doing videos in English?
Yeah, of course, but that's taking too much time. If you're having the same content and you're doing 2 different videos, that's really a lot of effort. So let me just tell you, when I really do a video, it would take me like 2 nights to think about the whole content. I would actually write it down, like every sentence. And then when I do the shooting, it would usually be like whole afternoon or the whole night. You would actually shoot for 3 or 4 times. So that's just the Chinese version. But changing to the English version, think about how long it would further take. And I think most of my audience are still in China. English is not really my mother language. I cannot really express myself very good in English. So what I did was that I have this subtitle in YouTube, which can be translated into English, and people in other language, they can just see the subtitle. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think there is another question in the chat box from Zhen Haili. Yeah.
Oh.
Very long question. If a not-for-profit organization who promotes technology to the public want to open a video channel to enhance the influence, how should it start? As must do things at the beginning. Any trap or mistake to avoid?
Well, that's actually a little bit tricky because it's non-profit, so it really means you won't monetize the video. That means you cannot afford, you wouldn't have any ads in it, and you're not really making a product. I think the first advice is just to making someone who is really having the passion to do the video, because it's just taking such a long time. And the second one is to make the video short. Don't make some long one. And maybe just a little introduction to a certain term of the technology. And the third one is I wouldn't recommend having some interview of the famous people. There are a lot of channels you see when an organization, they want to have this video channel, they just post on their interview of different kind of people. That is okay, but I never saw a video channel get very popular because of this kind of interview videos. And I think it's just a lazy way to do things. Yeah, must do thing at the beginning. You really need to find someone who can commit to this role. And the trapper mistake, I think it's just don't just go for the easy way. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, really helpful. Zhenhai.
We can talk about that later. Yeah.
Okay. And I saw a comment inside the Q&A box from PD Chen.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a
大小马
question,
聊科
but
技
just related. Yeah, 大小马聊科技. Yeah, really good content. Yeah.
They tried a lot of things. I've been with Danny Data and Emma for this process. Emma once had a channel with Li Ziran, this English channel in YouTube. They just have one or two video, and then they stop. So you can see these people, they really tried a lot of different things on different topics, but most of them eventually leads to failure, but they still keep trying. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Maybe
does two of you want to share anything, because you're also having this community? I don't know if you want to say something on this topic.
Yeah,
Zhen?
yeah. Now as you bring it up, yeah, actually, like, I think the purpose of I starting the community is a bit different. It's just like, I mean, for me, like, I think I started mostly because I always want to start a little community, gather a bunch of people together, like since I was very little. And it's just like over time, I kind of forget about it. But then when near my graduation, like PhD graduation, like I know this kind of thought comes back. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it again. Like just get some friends together. It's very simple. I never intend to bring it to public, to be honest. Yeah, initially it was just like a very closed community, so invited only. So,
Yeah.
but then like I talked to my advisor, and he said, okay, why don't you just put some public talk, you know, instead of just like a bunch of friends? I was like, okay, why not? Because that time is when COVID hits, and there was a certain gap between my PhD and postdoc. And I was like, okay, why not? I will try it. But initially I saw that, okay, I'm not like an influencer or something. I'm not a celebrity. So probably when I do that, it's only my friend will come. But I do it anyway because my advisor and some of my friends encourage me to do so. And somehow it get a little bit influence and starting to get more popular. I don't know. Maybe it's because the talk like given by my friends is very useful and helpful to other PhDs in the community. Then over time it's getting more popular. But now I was thinking, okay, so yeah, that's like a bit different. I never thought about like making it very, very popular or something. So yeah, I think that's my experience. So my experience, usually like me doing things is usually just for fun. So I never think about you know, what I can get from it. So that's my personal experience. Just
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we all started from, we're not really intended to be famous. We just started from boring during quarantine.
Yeah.
When I started, I mainly talk about the book I read. I made vlog about me cooking. Oh, one last advice: don't make vlogs. A vlog it's fun for your personal interest, but I just don't really think it can lead to anything. It's good for you for your memory, but if you really want to like express something, vlog is not a good choice. Then I turned to research, and the thing you mentioned, you don't really want to go to public or be famous in the first place. That's quite true, because going to public can lead to some bad experience as well. Like the thing we were talking at the very beginning, I had some crazy fans who can do really harassment to the KOL. So just be careful. Don't let your personal information let out in this video, especially when you do the shooting. Don't just really show where you live or the lab. Otherwise, it can get you some problems.
I think initially when I was doing it, like within some friends, like the feeling is very different, because we like talk about certain things and exchange ideas, like just within friends. Like it feels more like relaxed. You can just basically talk about anything you want. But when it's going to public, you have to be careful on what you say. You know? For me, that's like big difference.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Especially me. I'm usually the person who talk big, so it's gonna be dangerous for me if I talk too much in the public.
That's good.
Don't want to be famous, but really want a lot of friends. I know the person say in there. That's also dangerous. Like when you started to have this video and blogs, you would have this fans, and it can be like a dangerous thing. You always want to have more fans, and eventually one day that number will stop, and you will sort of be miserable about it. You would think, should I change? Should I pivot to other topics? And my advice is still just don't focus too much on the number, but know more about who are really reading your articles, your videos.
That's very helpful, because some influencer on social media told me that they care about the number, fans number, but sometimes they may be very anxious. So it's quite a big problem for their life.
Extremely anxious, especially you need to have this video online every week. So it's really a deadline. It's such a tight deadline.
Actually, this brings me another question, like because I know nowadays, like a lot of like social media influencers, social media celebrities, they got very famous and they quit their job and just focus full time on the social media. So, but I'm always curious, like what's their like usually as a social media influencer, and what's the long-term career development for them? So maybe I know you are stopping making videos anymore, but you interact with a lot of this kind of social media people. So what do you what do they think, and or do you know anything?
I know. Yeah. So I was in this community called I Had 4. So that's a community set up by a content creator, and there are several ways that you can quit your job and monetize it through as a KOL. One is if you're super famous, like 何同学, or I don't know, just the top content creator in Bilibili, that you can totally earn your money by ads. Usually that's the way they choose, just by advertisement. You just customize your video according to the ads, and they just need to do it like several times per year, and that's really enough for them. Although there is a saying that you cannot really do this for a long-term goal. Maybe it's like 5 years. That's pretty much the longest term. But that would already make you a lot of money. So that is one way to do it, but it's only suitable for the best KOLs. For most people, like if you have 200K fans on Bilibili, especially if you were working on the knowledge community, that's usually where we end up to. You actually don't earn that much. It's pretty much like a normal technology job. not like some salary in Google or Facebook, just like a normal technology job. So that's pretty much it. But it's taking a lot of energy for you to make these videos. It's never easier than the other job, and also you wouldn't consider it as a long-term job. So usually for this content creator, they would have this community. They would make some courses to tell others how to make the video. So that's the way they earn their living. And if you're good at live streaming, you can earn a lot by streaming other than just having a video. So the video is more like the tool that lead your audience to your product, which is your streaming or your courses or your books. So those are the things you monetize it. Yeah. And also, like, for a lot of people, although you don't have a lot of fans, maybe just 3,000 or 4,000, but if you're in a specific area, like you're talking about furniture or you're talking about coffee, where actually you can sell your product to others. So it's more like a business card. So that way you're just let more people know about the company behind your video channel. And that's also one thing we can think about as well. If your research can be related to certain technology, you can start a company. After that, then video channel is just your business card. You're not monetize it from that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. That's really like inspiring. Later, if I have my own lab, I probably will start like channel of my, not my personal channel, but my lab channel. So just occasionally, not regularly, post some interesting stuff from my lab. And so it's also like, just like you said, build a personal brand, but in this case, it's like a lab brand. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of lab brands. Yeah. Usually it's just like you have this video from this journal papers. You can just put them together and then upload it.
Yeah. But that's boring. I want to make something like interesting, probably, if I have time.
Then like you need to spend time.
Yeah.
Maybe Zhen, you can try some vlog first.
Like a boring day of a researcher. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. So someone asked if there is a WeChat communication group.
Well, actually, if you first, like, you can subscribe to my 小哲说, so that's the 公众号. That's one way. So I would see it. You can communicate with me from there. And also in my videos of Yang Xiaozhe, there is this QR code, which is my personal WeChat number. I don't really have this WeChat communication group. I had one before, but yeah, that's one other advice I want to give you. Having this WeChat communication group of your fans is really, it would take a lot of energy. It most times doesn't really turn out well, because a lot of fans you don't really know about them, and getting these people in the communication group, it's more challenging, difficult than you thought to operate it. So yeah, just be careful if you want to have a communication group. My way is just I add them separately on my second WeChat number, and then just talk to them one by one.
Okay.
So yeah, no one else have any questions? I think maybe it's time for us to wrap up. And thanks so much for Yunfang. Nice talk, great talk, and it's really nice. And I personally learn a lot from it, and it's also very interesting to hear your stories. And I think it must be very inspiring to a lot of audience as well. So thanks so much. And just like a trailer for the next episode, we will have Dr. Nicole Black from Harvard sharing her startup experience. So again, thanks so much for being found today. And also thanks for Wenbin for the host. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yunfang.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the host.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend, everyone.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah. See you next time. Bye.
See you.
Bye.